So you might think that plastering is one of those things you best leave to the pros, but honestly, it's not that difficult, and I can show you how. Any DIY can have a go. So the very first job that we're going to be doing is preparing the area that we're going to skim. Now, as you can see here, we've got slight gaps between our joints. Same around here as well. Now, it's always good to have that because you do want to let the plasterboard slightly expand and contract, okay? But to make sure that that doesn't come through to our plaster, we put this down. It's like a mesh tape. It's called scrim tape, okay? Now, this is vital. You have to do this. If I didn't put this scrim tape on here and I just plastered, give it a week, maybe 2 at the most, you'd start to see cracks, okay? So I'm going to tape up all the joints, and it's self-adhesive, so it's really easy to use. And you can either cut it with some scissors, or what I'm going to do is just cut it with a Stanley knife. So we've made sure that all the joints and the cracks are covered. The next thing we do is we PVA the walls. We dilute the PVA glue to 1 part PVA, 4 parts water. If you don't put this on your wall, the plaster won't stick. So if there's render on there or you've got your paint on there, we PVA it. We don't PVA plaster. External corners need beading. And the way that we secure these is with these small little tacks. It's really important that you do use these ones because they're galvanized. Go around, give them a bit of pressure, and just check that none of them are moving. I've let my PVA dry now. That took about 20 minutes. We're now ready to mix up the plaster to get it on the walls. When you do mix up, definitely got to wear a dust mask. I've chosen a board finish plaster. It's called board finish for plasterboard, but if you're not so confident, I would suggest maybe going for a multi-finish plaster because that just gives you a slightly longer setting time. In regards to the quantities of water you first start with, have an idea how much plaster you're going to need, and whatever water you put in, by the time you've added your plaster, it will double. Okay, I'm happy with the consistency of that. I'd say it's just past thick custard. Always have another bucket on standby for a bit of a washing out bucket. So this is the consistency we want. It's not uncontrollable, it's not rolling around, staying on my hawk, which is what this is. And I've got my plasterer's trowel to hand. I'm going to show you how to get it on the wall. So I put it to my base, push up, and as I push up, I lean my hawk into my trowel, and then I take a big scoop off, and then push it onto the walls. We're just working on an upward stroke. But as you get more confident, push it up to the top, and then tilt your trowel and pull it back down again. That's our first coat done. All we've got to make sure is that everything is covered. Approximately 15 to 20 minutes has passed now, so that should be enough time for my plaster to have just dried enough that I can do what's called pulling it. Pulling it basically means getting rid of the really big lumps and bumps. I'm not looking for a perfect finish, just taking the edge off the worst parts. And again, use a multitude of strokes, go across it, go up it, and we're just taking the worst sections off. So this is just the final coat to really finish it off. I've maybe got about 2 or 3 inches worth of water. I'm going to mix it up much thinner, so being thinner, it's going to spread a lot more. This is the consistency of our final skim. And now we're not putting it on as thick as we did with our first skim. This is about a 1 to 2 mil thickness. Although I said be a little bit more fussy with this one, we're still not done yet. Now we're going to leave that to dry ever so slightly, and then we're going to bring it up, what we call polishing in the trade. Now this is the exciting bit. This is where you get to show off. We're going to make this as smooth as we can, and this is called the polishing up part. So we've put on our final coat, got rid of as many little lumps and bumps as we could. Now the little touch test. See how I'm not disappearing in the plaster and I'm not leaving too much of a mark. So now I know that that's ready. And what I'm just going to do, like I did before, is just wetten up the edges with my little spray gun, because they're the bits that are going to be drying first. And then I'm just going to run my trowel over the areas that we've worked. Again, if I wipe any off, try and put that back into any hollows that you might see or feel. You really want to try and pay attention to how the plaster feels under your trowel. Don't worry too much if you find that you're still leaving the odd marks. It's just going to get drier and drier, and as it dries out, the marks that we leave will be less obvious. We're just going to turn our attention now to the edges, because that's really important when we're patch plastering. Give it a little spray of water, so we just want to keep it pliable. And with this, I'm stroking inwards, so taking off any edge here. When we come to paint, you won't ever see this. If you can see that little bit there, I've just gone over it and it's ruffling up. That means it's too dry. So just a bit of a spray, we'll go over it again, and it'll disappear. We've got our external corners and our internal corners. It's looking really good. There you go, plastered.